Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a show with no particular niche, baby. It's always about hanging out. Maybe we'll laugh at some stuff, maybe we'll learn something new, but it's always about hanging out, me and you. Hi, hello, and welcome to That Thing with James, a podcast about nothing in particular. I'm your host, James, and yo, what's up? I said I was going to do 2 consecutive weeks, and I'm a man of my word. And like Joker, I'm a man of my word. You know, it'd be cool to be able to, reference the Joker without automatically thinking of all the cringe motherfuckers online who genuinely, you know what I'm talking about. If you're as online as me, then you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, 2 consecutive episodes in a week as promised, and here I am. So last week, I covered, what was it? The string theory. String theory, something that's on my mind quite often. And of course, and I talked a bit about how, ancient Eastern philosophy kind of has a lot of things in common with findings in modern physics. Well, a couple days prior to the time of me recording this episode, I stumbled into, there's a bunch of books that bring together, or let me put it like this. There's a book titled The Tao of Physics that came out in the 70s. And apparently that kind of took off in the 70s. People writing about and noticing the uncanny, maybe not uncanny, but the conspicuous similarities between Taoism and modern physics. But that's not what today's episode is about. Today's episode is about this hypothesis I've heard about maybe within the past year or two called the dark forest hypothesis. And it has to do with potentially, the speculation, I wouldn't say conjecture, but say the speculation, the hypothesis of if there is or is not alien life, intelligent alien life in the universe. And this relates to something called the Fermi paradox. Now, if I'm pronouncing Fermi wrong, is it Fermi or Fermi? I've always heard it pronounced Fermi. And maybe I'll look that up in a second just to see if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But yeah, we're going to get into the dark forest hypothesis, which is, if we're not alone, should we be reaching out? That's kind of what this is about. And this was all kind of inspired by my excitement over an adaptation of The Three-Body Problem, a science fiction novel. Is that redundant to say fiction novel? A science fiction book, let's say that. That was recently adapted for Netflix in English language. So yeah, we're going to get into that, and we're going to start with the Fermi paradox. But before we get into all that, some quick business. If you like this show and if you want more of it, and if you want to help support this show and maybe see it grow, or just want to access to a shit ton of bonus episodes, you can get all that at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. There, it's a $5 entry, and that will get you 30 days access to all the bonus episodes. There's over 90 bonus episodes out now. And you can get access to that and various perks available at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. So If you want access to all that, and if you want to help support the show and an independent creator, an independent artiste, become a member today at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. And thank you to those of you who are already patrons. You rock. Otherwise, my socials, my subreddit, my show email, those are all written, as well as the Patreon link, are written in the episode description. And you will also see, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, which you should definitely subscribe to, you will see the links. I'll post them in the Chiron little banner at the bottom. I love that word, Chiron. So that's the business. Let's jump into the juicy stuff. But first, I'm going to look up how to pronounce this person's name. So give me just a second. I'm back, and by God, I was right. And I knew I was. I know how to pronounce Italian stuff the Italian way. So much so that when I read Spanish, I kind of fall into an Italian accent or pronunciation unintentionally. It just so happens that way. So Fermi. The American pronunciation is Fermi. Fermi? That sounds like Furby. And then the British pronunciation is Fermi. Fermi? Fuh you. But the Italian pronunciation is Fermi. Fermi. And I've been calling it the Fermi paradox for years. So I'm just going to continue pronouncing it Fermi. We're going to start off. I just realized I've really been on like a alien kick lately. That's cool. That's fun. There's a lot worse things you could think about. So we're going to start off on this website that I used in the last free episode, space.com. The article here is titled Fermi Paradox, Where Are the Aliens? By Elizabeth Howell, last updated August 24th, 2023. Subtitle, Is Anybody Out There? It's like that Nine Inch Nails song, Where is everybody? Did you happen to catch it? Did it happen to... Well, did you happen to catch it? Did it happen so fast? What you thought would always last has passed you by. Is everything speeding up or am I slowing down? I'm just spinning around and I don't know why. All the pieces don't fit. Thought I really didn't give a shit. Well, I'm real... That's where I start to fall apart on those lyrics. That's the Nine Inch Nails song. Aliens, Nine Inch Nails. Wow, I'm into some really cool shit, aren't I? Yeah, I am. Yeah, dude. Let's get into it. I've not read this article yet. It's a bit long, and the way they structure these on this website is a little unusual. So bear with me. If it gets a little funky, I'll try to smooth our journey into the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox seeks to answer the question of where aliens are. Given that our solar system is quite young compared to the rest of the universe, roughly 4.5 billion years old compared to the 13.8 billion and compared to 13.8 billion, and that interstellar travel might be fairly easy to achieve given enough time, Earth should have been visited by aliens already, the idea goes. The paradox takes its name from Nobel Prize-winning physicist Enrico Fermi, who supposedly made the above points during a casual lunchtime conversation in 1950, and the implications have had astrobiologists and other scientists scratching their heads in the decades since. The Fermi grasped that any civilization with a modest amount of rocket technology and an immodest amount of imperial incentive could rapidly colonize the entire galaxy. Representatives of the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI Institute. SETI, remember I did that episode about SETI? If you don't remember, go look at the past few episodes. It's there. Representatives for SETI Institute in Mount View, California, wrote in a Fermi Paradox explainer. Within a few tens of millions of years, every star system could be brought under the wing of empire. Tens of millions of years may sound like a long project, but in fact, it's quite short compared to the age of the galaxy, which is roughly 8,000 times more, unquote. I've got some issues with that, and I'm going to voice them right now. Why must an intelligent alien species have imperialist, colonialist impulses? Why must it have that? It's not even a full wash for all of the human species throughout history. Currently, humans may not inherently be parasites. However, some communities, some individuals may have cultivated parasitic communities, may have cultivated parasitic states, as in nations, may have cultivated parasitic empires. Yet that parasitic drive is not inherently natural to human species. And in fact, the argument that humans are a virus, that humans are parasitic, that is a fundamental piece of human nature, is an inherently imperialist, colonialist, capitalist bullshit propaganda perspective to argue for its own existence. Whereas if you look at, say, the findings of old sociologists, biologists like Peter Kropotkin, find that it's quite the opposite. That the nature of human nature is the same as the nature of all other nature, which is most nature is a harmony. You live in harmony with your environment. So the idea that if there is indeed intelligent alien life out there in the stars, why haven't they colonized us yet? That is a very fucking myopic view in my eyes. And yeah, I'm nearsighted, but I've got pretty good glasses. I've got a strong prescription, sharp vision, and I say it's pretty goddamn short-sighted to just assume that every other species is inherently as parasitic as the parasites who hold the majority of the human species and nigh the earth itself hostage in its own self-fulfilling philosophy. Let's keep reading. Fermi died in 1954 So exploration and explication of the good word. So exploration and explication of the idea fell to other people such as Michael Hart, who wrote an article titled An Explanation for the Absence of Extraterrestrials on Earth in the Royal Astronomical Society, RAS, Quarterly Journal in 1975. Some say this is the first such paper to explore the Fermi paradox, although this claim is a bit hard to prove. We observe that no intelligent beings from outer space are now present on Earth, Hart wrote in the paper's abstract. It is suggested that this fact can best be explained by the hypothesis that there are no other advanced civilizations in our galaxy, unquote. He noted, however, that more research in biochemistry, planetary formation, and atmospheres was needed to better narrow the answer. And again, a lot of this stuff that I'm reading so far is from a very limited, very I'm loath to even say human-centric, because there are plenty of humans, myself included, who are open to the view that perhaps there are logics that we've not yet encountered. That's not to say, one can make up their own facts. That's not to say that 2 + 2 certainly can equal 5. No, it's just saying that there may be some things that you didn't really consider, maybe some perspectives you didn't consider, maybe ways of thinking, perceiving time that you're not really taking into account when you're making these hypotheses. Hart argued that intelligent aliens could already have visited Earth at some point in our planet's history unless they started their journey. Could already have visited Earth at some point in our planet's history unless they started their journey less than 2 million years ago. He thought the apparent lack of such visits is most likely due to the lack of intelligent aliens, but he outlined 4 other potential explanations as well. I also want to ask, what do you define as intelligence? Whose intelligence? Aliens, here are the 4 potential explanations. Aliens never came back here because of a physical difficulty that makes space travel infeasible, which could be related to astronomy, biology, or engineering. That's 1. 2, aliens simply chose never to visit us. 3, advanced civilizations beyond Earth arose too recently for aliens to reach us. And 4, aliens have visited Earth in the past, but we have not observed them. Maybe they're here right now and we don't really observe them because perhaps they are beings that are more than 4 dimensions, exist in more than 4 dimensions. Frank Tipler, a professor of physics at Tulane University, beautiful campus. I've been by there, beautiful campus, followed up on Hart's argument in 1980 with a paper titled Extraterrestrial Intelligent Beings Do Not Exist, also published in the RAS Quarterly Journal. The bulk of his paper dealt with how to get resources for interstellar travel, which he suggested could be achieved by having some kind of self-replicating artificial intelligence move from star system to star system, creating copies of itself as it traveled. Since evidence of such advanced machinery has never been found on Earth, Tipler argued that we are likely the only intelligence out there. He also wrote in the 1980 paper that those who believe in extraterrestrial intelligence are similar to UFO enthusiasts because both camps believe we are going to be saved from ourselves by some miraculous interstellar intervention. Both of these guys are really fucking, barely hiding their own, squabbles. They're writing these complex papers just to, fucking jizz their own little weird beef, their own nerdy beef with other nerds, man. What if there does exist other intelligences that are fundamentally different from what we as humans consider intelligence? What if it has absolutely nothing to do with saving us and all this stuff? I mean, this guy's just writing. This guy's being fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson, just pissing on everyone's fun. And then later being kind of debunked, like he had this video out recently saying, oh, you can't pound on sand, you can't vibrate sand. And then some people clearly made sand vibrate, talking about summoning sandworms in Dune. Oh, these fucking sexless nerds, man. Today, the topic of extraterrestrial intelligence is a popular one with multiple papers appealing every year from different research groups, or appearing every year from different research groups. And the idea that advanced civilizations may exist beyond Earth has been buoyed by the ongoing exoplanet revolution. A lot of habitable real estate, yada, yada, yada. Well, anyway, so that's the basic idea, is that the Fermi paradox is like, there must be stuff, but why have we not been contacted by stuff? And I say maybe it's a bit more broad and a lot more weird than the terms you use in this paradox take into account. That's what I say. So then let's move on to the real core. Now that we've got our base understanding of the Fermi paradox, let's get into the dark forest hypothesis after this short water break. All right, let's get into it, baby. This article is on iflscience.com. What does IFL stand for? Information Federation League. Intelligence, flourishing life, or I fucking love science. That's what it is. It's the latter. iflscience.com. The article is titled The Unsettling Explanation of the Dark Forest Hypothesis, Why Aliens Haven't Made Contact. Published July 16th, 2023, written by James Felton, senior staff writer at IFL Science, subtitle, Answers to the Paradox Range from the Optimistic to the Downright Frightening. Here we go. You have probably heard of the Fermi paradox. Yeah, duh, I just told you about it. Duh. But if you haven't, but you have, here it is in a nutshell. Given the high probability that alien life exists out there in the universe, bearing in mind the vastness of space and that we keep finding planets within habitable zones, why has nobody gotten in touch yet? If there are so many other civilizations out there, possibly at far more advanced stages than we are because of how long the universe has dragged on, surely at least one would send out messages or probes, or do what we are doing, desperately searching for alien life. Answers to the paradox range from the optimistic to the downright frightening. Ooh. It could be... Hold on, let me check. Sometimes the audio cuts out, but not this time, thank God. I get a little nervous. I'm doing this all by myself. I'm a one-man show who you could help out a whole lot by becoming a patron at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. Anyway, answers to the paradox range from the optimistic to the downright frightening. It could be that we simply haven't been looking long enough, nor emitting our own traceable signatures for aliens to find us yet. Or it could be that no aliens will ever make it to the point where they are able to make contact with other species, destroying themselves long before they ever get to the kind of tech required to do so. On the very edge of the creepy end of the spectrum falls the dark forest theory, a piece of speculation on the topic outlined in, I didn't know he created this, Liu Xixin's sci-fi novel, The Dark Forest. That's the same guy who wrote The Three-Body Problem. Which I gotta say, this dark forest theory, fun to think about and everything, but I feel like it also kind of comes from a rather reactionary impulse. Just going to lay that out there. In conversations between a sociology professor and former astronomer and the mother of their dead friend. This is outlined in the book. That was the end of that paragraph that I chopped in half. I don't know if you heard that, but that was my back. The professor states that their life will strive to stay alive and that there is no way of knowing the intentions of other alien species. Some could be benevolent, some could be hostile. Even if the life out there isn't hostile, it will still be expanding in a universe with limited resources, increasing the likelihood of conflict with others who need those same resources. Again, this is kind of a very capitalist, reactionary perspective. I'm laying that out there right now. I'm fucking throwing down that gauntlet, baby. Given these factors, the book suggests all intelligent life is left with the safest course of action, to wipe out any other life forms before they can do the same to them. Quote, the universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds other life, another hunter, an angel or a demon, a delicate infant or a tottering old man, a fairy or a demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them. Unquote. A famous passage from the book reads. A famous passage from the book reads. Weird. I didn't expect that sentence structure to go that way. Quote, in this forest, hell is other people, an eternal threat that any life that exposes its own existence will be swiftly wiped out. This is the picture of cosmic civilization. It's the explanation for the Fermi paradox, unquote. This doesn't mean that we haven't heard from other species because they have all been wiped out, the book argues. If even one species out there acts like this, it makes sense for all others to keep quiet and not advertise their existence to others. However, There is one factor that the book expands on. Though wiping out others before they can do the same to you is the most rational course of action, aliens may not do it for practical reasons. Say you send out a fleet of destroyers to another star system. By the time it gets there, your fleet will remain at the same technological level you sent it, while the people you are attacking will have advanced by centuries or even millennia. As such, it may be beneficial to most civilizations to simply sit out there, like many other forms of benevolent life forms, all hiding themselves in a forest in fear. Yeah. Gotta say, that is an extremely reactionary, that is post 9/11 Bush reactionary level perspective. And I'm curious if there are any counterpoints out there. So I'm going to do a quick look, and I'll be right back. Okay, so it seems I could spend a long time trying to look for counterpoint perspectives. It's a little embarrassing, but the only one I could really find is, maybe it's not embarrassing because this is all just speculation. So I found someone on Reddit speculating. So, spoilers for Three Body Problem. Spoilers. If you don't want to get spoiled, then thanks for tuning in. But if you want to hear a bit of a counterpoint that may contain a spoiler, I skimmed over this. I don't know. Stick around. All right, here we go. You have been forewarned. Don't get mad or upset at me. All right. I'm going to jump in here. So the Dark Forest basically says that every civilization would, or at least should, strike and kill every other civilization that they encounter in the universe because resources are not infinite and they could eventually become a threat. Okay? It's true that resources aren't infinite, but to think that every civilization is even remotely interested in quote-unquote expanding forever is fundamentally wrong. That seems to suggest that evolution is about becoming conscious and then technologically advancing until the end of time. And that is not true. I mean, to think that is to perceive Stone Age, then Iron Age, then Industrial Age, then Contemporary Age, then Galaxy Age as set in stone, like points in time that every civilization will eventually arrive to. And Xijin Liu seems to suggest that in the three-body game in Book 1. Well, sorry to break it to you, but that's not true. If you ask any zoologist, anthropologist, or archaeologist you know, the very main idea of civilization is kind of wrong because it suggests that living in cities and growing our food in agriculture is the best way to live, and that's wrong, very wrong. Living like that is the only way that some country living. I'm reading someone else's posts here, so if it's a bit fucky-wucky, sorry. I didn't write this. Living like that is the only way that some countries forced onto the rest of the world through systemic violence and genocide. Did I not say that earlier, my babies? Let's keep reading. People tend to think that this way of life is inevitable because they see evolution as competition only. And that's not true as well. Even fucking, what's his name? The father of evolution, later in life came around to say, it's not survival of the fittest. That was just a random thing I said when I was much younger. And he revised his ideas about how evolution works later in life. But violent imperialists don't want you to hear that kind of stuff because it fucks with their own violent imperialist agenda. Let's keep reading. Look it up. Look up Lynn Margulies' work, please. Evolution is about existing and adapting, and there isn't a main goal to evolution. That's Kropotkin as well. It's about existing and adapting. Sorry to break that to you. It's true that humans leaving Earth would impact our biology, probably, but comparing leaving Earth to leaving the sea, like Xijin Liu did in Death's End, is thinking that our ancestor fish had to eventually leave the sea, like it was its destiny to become the next great species and rule the world, and that's just not true. I don't know why it left the sea, but it certainly wasn't to conquer anything, because conquering things is a human-constructed idea, and a specific type of human idea at that. We could eventually come back to the sea if the environment asks us to. It happened to the whales, didn't it? Look up the Homo floresiensis. I totally mispronounced that word. For example, they shrank in size, yes, their brain as well, because that helped them survive in an island setting. That probably cost something in their ability to think. And if the environment changes, that could be us. Xijin Liu seems to suggest that we are kind of above evolutionary laws if we stay on Earth, like we are the epitome of life on Earth, and now there's nothing left to do than to go above and beyond. And that's true only to people who view progress as a race against time itself. Sorry, but we won't win this one. If we stay here, we will probably adapt to the changes that happen on Earth, like wolves already doing that in the Chernobyl setting. Because that's what happens when the environment changes. Beings adapt. No end goal, no survival of the strongest, just existing. Maybe that will cost our size, our consciousness, our human feelings. But, well, if gods don't care, neither does evolution. If you guys want a book about evolution that is very pessimistic as well, but at least is more accurate, you should read All Tomorrows. But beware that in this book, humans don't last long. Oh, why? Well, evolution. Yeah, that's the closest thing I could find as a counterpoint. And that's all I'm going to say for this episode. Just stick around for the bonus episode if you're a patron already. Yeah, that's it. So that's the dark forest hypothesis and the Fermi paradox. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. Bye.